In this tutorial, I'm going to show you step by step how to sketch this figure using a brush pen. I chose this reference because the clothing splits up the form in quite a nice way, but the way he's holding his leg up like that could be quite a challenge for me later to try and get that looking right where the pants are stretched around that back leg. So let's see how that goes. So we're starting in the top corner, making sure that the head is quite small so that we can fit the whole figure in the page. So in this style of sketching, I'm just sketching without construction, sketching shapes. So it looks like I'm not using construction, but actually the shapes, the different points of the shapes are used as a construction. The size of the face is about the same size as the beanie. So that's why I went down to the chin, and then I can break up that face with the brow and the bottom of the nose. So once you've got those eyebrows in, you can put the bottom of the nose there halfway between the chin and the brow. As I'm sketching this, I'm not pressing very hard. This is a medium tip brush pen, and there's a nice fine tip hair on the end, and I'm trying to use very thin lines. We can add in some little supporting lines around the nose and the eyes. These are even finer lines, just very small hints at directions and wrinkles. So a bit under the eyes, around the end of the nose. Okay, so now I've got the basic features of the face. I want to frame the face a bit and add some contrast so it attracts your eye, and I'm using the hair on the left. And the great thing about a brush pen, you could do this with pencil or a fine liner as well, but it's much easier with a brush pen to block in that black shape. If you're using a fine liner, you can use little diagonal lines or cross hatch. And at the lips, you can see I've made the split between the lips darker, a little hint on the top of the lip, and then a bit of a darker line for the bottom of the lip. So they're all the edges that is away from the light, which is coming down from the top. Okay, so now down to the clothing. I really love sketching clothing for some reason, all the wrinkles and directions. It doesn't matter if you don't get this all right, it's just a quick sketch. So I'll show on the screen now what are the main shapes I'm looking at the clothing. Even though I'm drawing random squiggly lines, all these lines help me outline these shapes. So this line here is a bit darker than the line on the left because that's where the shadow is. So I'm being thoughtful of my line work. If the side of that section is in shadow, then I'll make that line a lot darker, a lot thicker. And then something I want to do in this sketch is add in a lot of extra details, like even the seams or little sketch marks for the wrinkles. And this pen has that thin tip which I can do that. So just there I'm trying to get that outline shape of the brown t-shirt underneath before I go into doing some of the wrinkles. Okay, so these two wrinkles that I'm drawing here, these help me divide up that side of the arm so I know how long it is and where the elbow is. Even looking at the negative shape around the shoulder and down the arm, all that outside space of the silhouette of the figure to make sure it looks right. And here's an example of that really thin line work that I wanted to do everywhere. Some of my older sketches lacked that detail. I actually heard a conversation with Kim Jong-gi, and he was saying that a lot of people forget about the details and the small details, and they want to go really fast. So I think that's something I've done in the past. And he was saying that it's really important that you have all those little details that draw your eye in. So the hand here, I just did the silhouette, and then little thin lines between the fingers. So you can see here I've left the legs. It's like I've done the different areas. So I've measured across here from the chin to the top of the knee. And then I could find that point, do a little sketchy line, leave a gap, just in case it's wrong, you can edit it a bit. Now building some details down to that that part in the pants. This is the tricky bit. I had a feeling when I started this sketch that this would make or break the sketch, making sure that those pants look right, stretched up around that leg. And I think getting those folds, so the point there where all the wrinkles come out from the middle, I think that was really important to get those lines sort of stretching out from that point. So to get the length of the leg, I'm looking down at the hand and thinking, where does this leg go down to? That fold in the pants comes about towards where that hand is, and just a little bit below the middle of the pants, where all the wrinkles come out from. And it's very dark in there, so I'm thinking that it needs a little bit of a dark wrinkle in there to help separate the pants. Okay, so now with the shoes, I'm thinking that I'm going to shade these in or block these in black. I think that'll add a nice balance to the sketch. Perhaps if I did the beanie as well, but I might just do lots of little straight lines up there. So I'm looking at the silhouette on the reference to see how far this shoe comes out, comparing it to the size of the hand. So I'm hoping to leave a little bit of a glint of light here. So my idea is to leave a bit of white and then use my finger and just blend it a bit. Adds a nice texture and a slight glint. Okay, so now let's move on to the leg on the right, and we can see that the dark part of the pants past the knee is about the same size as from the knee back up to his right jacket. So that's what I'm measuring it off. And then the wrinkle lines here are all sort of pointing into that tension point on the end of the knee. So I'll try and aim a few wrinkles at the knee to show that it's in tension there. Okay, so the last shoe, similar to the last one, I'll draw the silhouette and then I'll block it in with black. Maybe even later I can use my white Posca pen to add a few little details on the shoe. So to add some contrast to the different areas, the different clothing, I wanted to add little thin lines here, even thinner than my outlines. And I got this from using my fine liner. Some other sketches I've used really thin lines to shade, which I wanted to bring over to my brush pen sketches. So I'm just adding a few more details to the face, some little freckles. I think it adds more interest and draws your attention to the face if there are lots of details around there. So now go around your sketch and try to find areas where you can add a bit more contrast, little black areas that help divide the sketch up and make it more interesting. So I've done a few little shadows here. Also realized that he does have a sleeve, so I've made that dark as well. And same as the beanie here, I wanted to make the t-shirt stand out, so I've added really thin lines here, all in the same direction. So just a few little detail lines here, add some texture to the jacket. So now let's see if this white Posca pen can add a few nice details to the shoe. This is by far my best white pen. It seems to work even if the ink is a little bit damp. So add a bit to the hair as well. Okay, I've got my 2H pencil and I'm just adding a bit of subtle shading on the face. This can really make your sketch look really good. So above the eyes and below the eyes, around the end of the nose, especially dark on the bottom plane of the nose, and then across the cheeks, and then a little bit more shading on the beanie and the t-shirt. I hope you enjoyed that slightly longer sketching tutorial where I could talk through some of my thoughts along the way. Let me know if that's the kind of thing you like. I've got a lot more of these kind of long tutorials on my Patreon page if you're interested in getting more of those kind of tutorials. And on there you can also send me your sketch and I'll give you some feedback. I'd recommend you check out one of these 2 videos here if you want some more tips and tricks on sketching with a brush pen. These are a bit shorter. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.